We were just talking about this, that like DAP. Like I'm a DAP guy. I don't need a handshake. Do you think the commissioner had a tutorial prior to his first draft to understand how to shake hands with draft picks?
So
Hugs?
I actually was Roger Goodell's first draft. So I can go back and recount the fact that being how long I was in the green room, and I think his excitement to get me and my family out of his green room probably was part of the reason why we hugged. But it was more than a dap. But I don't think anyone gave him a tutorial. I think he's just got it in him.
But he gets a little too into it.
Well, it's a big moment for a lot of people there. Again, for our family and for me, I mean, it was a long time building up to that moment, but I got drafted by the team that I rooted for growing up. And all that Chipotle that we had ordered during that 5.5-hour stint or whatever it was magically whisked out of his green room.
Okay, but when you're sitting there, if a guy who's going to be drafted in the first round says, "I want to bring my girlfriend,"
yeah,
what would you say?
As the commissioner, or
no, you from experience?
Oh, I mean, again, we all knew what we signed up for, whether it was my girlfriend or my parents and everyone else. I think what I would do is I would ask them, does that individual believe their girlfriend's strong enough or their family's strong enough to be able to handle the camera, the pressure lights, everything else? Because up until that moment, really, they have only experienced things through you. They haven't been there right with you in the spotlight. And I think that's one of the things that I wasn't really thinking about when you're thinking about going to the NFL draft. You're just thinking about your dream coming true and getting to play in the NFL. You're not thinking you're going to be sitting there for 5.5 hours or whatever it was. And you're also not thinking about how your family's going to handle that pressure. I mean, you're prepared for it. You've handled a lot of other things in your life up to that point. But that's a very different set of circumstances for your family to deal with.
And trying to figure out who's telling you the truth during the draft process.
Well, and that was part of my reaction, I think, to a number of the picks based on what I was told. We were told something that by Phil Savage that was completely truthful. He's like, hey, if you and Joe are there at number 3, we're going to take Joe Thomas. And my agent, Tom Conn, at the time told me the night before, he goes, I've never had a general manager tell me that before a draft. He goes, most times they say things like that as a smokescreen. He goes, in this case, they were truthful. And so when that pick came through, I already had an idea in my head. And to Phil's credit, Phil said that because he knew how much it meant to me to be drafted by the Browns. And so I was kind of prepared for it. But some of the other picks, I had an idea, but the Miami one was the most surprising. So that was probably more why I reacted in the way I did, because I was really curious to see who they're going to go with instead.
Well, what happened with Miami?
They had sent, again, this is coming from what I had heard from Charlie Weiss. You have to ask him, but they had sent him a package and all this stuff that supposedly said, we know you haven't been a big fan in the past, given that they were division rivals, but hopefully you will after the draft the next day, which I don't think he was a fan at all after what happened the next day. So, that led us to believe that it was going to be Miami. Terry Shea, their quarterback's coach, he had actually been with me in Arizona training and preparing for my pro day, for the draft and all of that. He left to go take the quarterback coach job. So I'm thinking okay, if he has any say, he's seen my work ethic, he's seen me, he'll be on my side on all this. And they decided to go in a different direction. And that was, in the end, I think they were 1-15 or whatever that season, but it was what it was.
Take that.
Yeah.